So a lot of people have been asking me how I've been making these masks. So easiest way to show you is to make a video. So this is the pattern picture that I posted. So there's different sizes for kids, which I did for Everly and Hudson, young kid, teenage and women, and then there's actually a one for a larger cutout for man. So what I did is I actually cut out from cardboard a guide, so I was able to lay down my fabric and trace it easily. And basically you need 4 pieces. So this white is gonna be our lining pieces. So we've got 2 of these, and then the outer layer is blue. So these are my 2 outer layers. Now what I did do is on this template, you add an inch on this end to allow for the fold over to make the elastic pocket. So I added that inch onto the pattern, so when I cut it out, I've already got my extra inch built in to enable us to fold it over and make a pocket for the elastic. So the first step is to put your 2 layer piece, this is the top layer, put them together. I'm pinning them so they stay in place. And then you're gonna sew this seam right here first. So we're gonna sew this first seam. And you're supposed to allow about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on the edge. I try to get as close to the edge as I can. So there we go. So basically what you're left with then once you sew it is this. So you're going to repeat that with your inner layer. So now you have both your layers done. So you've got your inner layer and your outer layer. Now to put them together, the way I like to think of it is I'm going to turn my outer layer inside out so that the good seam is showing. And I want to put the good seam of the outer layer up against the good seam of the lining. So I'm going to join these together like this. And then we're going to secure this with pins. And essentially what you're going to do then is you're going to sew your edge up here, leaving the ends open because we're going to have to turn it inside out, and sew your bottom. So you're going to pin it together and sew your layers together. So now we've got our layers sewn on the top and on the bottom with our sides open. So now the next step is to turn it right side out. So grab it, pull it through. And then now when it's turned, as you can see, you've got the basis for your mask. So one thing you can do is you can now put the mask back in the sewing machine and sew down this middle seam to ensure that the layers stay together. You don't have to do that, but you can. And then the next step is we're gonna create the pocket for our elastic. So you're gonna fold this over, make sure you leave enough so that you can fit your elastic or your ribbon or whatever it is that you're using. So you're gonna secure the seam and we're gonna sew down this, and I'll show you what that looks like after both sides are done. So now we have our pockets sewn on each side, on each end. And what I like to do to make it easier to get your elastic or your string or your ribbon, whatever, to go in there is I actually like to use a chopstick. The chopstick comes in handy for turning it inside out too. And I just like to kind of open the pocket up so it's easier to get the elastic through. And you can do a double elastic like I'm showing you, or you can actually just put a loop of elastic on each end to put behind your ears. I find that doing the one continuous loop of elastic, because it creates two bands in the back of your head, I think it fits a lot more securely and tightly to your face. So that's what I like to do. So this is my elastic. Again, you could use ribbon, you can use, even I guess string if you had to, anything you have on hand. And I think this, for like the kind of woman size that I'm doing, this is, I think, 26 inches long, this piece. So what you're gonna do is feed it through your ends. So we're gonna put it through. If you're using ribbon, because it's not as stiff as elastic, what I like to do is put a safety pin through the end of the ribbon, and that helps you feed it through. Or if you're using ribbon, you could just sew each piece of ribbon and then create, 4 pieces to tie around the back of your head. It's probably easier if you're doing the ribbon. And in that case, you wouldn't really need to sew the pocket. The pocket's really only if you're using the elastic. So once you have the elastic fed through, so it's going to be one continuous circle, you then create a knot. So just put your ends together, make a knot. And again, you can adjust if you find that this is too big or too small, whatever. You can adjust where you put your knot, clip some off, or make it longer. So you create this nice knot, and then just for aesthetic purposes, I like to pull the knot back into the side of the mask to kind of hide it, and then you're done. So, and I also went back and did this seam stitch just to keep the layers together. So there you have it. That's your mask. And these are actually pretty easy to make once you get it down. So hopefully this helps, and everybody stay safe.